Okay, let's start with a couple of big questions. What if beauty isn't just, a matter of personal taste? And what if our inability to really see it is somehow connected to the very roots of evil? It's a huge idea, and it comes from this remarkable 20th century philosopher, Dietrich von Hildebrand. And honestly, his work feels more urgent now than ever. Just to give you a sense of how important this guy was, Pope Pius XII himself called him a 20th century doctor of the church. I mean, that's a title they save for the absolute heavyweights. But the reason his story is so wild, especially right now, is because of something that was just discovered, and it's pretty unbelievable. See, for decades, one of his most important works, a deep dive into the nature of evil, was just gone, lost. The manuscript was called The Roots of Moral Evil, and it was just recently found, unearthed by a researcher in a library vault in Munich. It's like something out of a movie, a real philosophical detective story. And finding this lost text is a huge deal because now, for the first time, we can connect his really famous ideas about beauty with these long-lost thoughts on evil. So it all boils down to this one big question, right? What's the real connection between beauty and evil? What did von Hildebrand see that maybe we're missing? All right, let's dive into part one and start with beauty, because von Hildebrand's take on this is, well, it's pretty radical. It flies directly in the face of one of the most common things we all say today. You know the saying, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We all say it. It means beauty's totally subjective, just a matter of opinion. Well, von Hildebrand thought that was a massive mistake. For him, beauty is an objective value. It's a real quality that exists in something, whether we see it or not. It's just as real as any other fact out there. So according to him, our job is to have what he called a value response. And this is key. It's not just about liking something. It's not a preference. It's about properly recognizing a truth that's already there. So when you see a masterpiece, or you're looking at this incredible sunset, you're not just having a fuzzy feeling inside. You are actually perceiving an objective reality. And get this, for von Hildebrand, beauty isn't some passive thing just sitting there waiting for us to notice it. Nope. He saw it as an active force. It actually appeals to us to be received, as he put it. It has a message for us, and it kind of asks something of us. So when we truly recognize that beauty, we're not just enjoying a nice view, we're actually affirming a deep truth about the way the world works. He also said, look, not all beauty is created equal. He laid out this kind of hierarchy. At the very top, you've got what he called metaphysical beauty. And this is fascinating. It's not something you see with your eyes. It's something you perceive, like the fragrance of a saint's goodness, their moral virtue. Then, a step down, you have the beauty of art and music. And at the base level, you have the simple, more primitive beauty of the senses, like a single pure color or a perfect sound. Okay, so now let's pivot to that lost manuscript. This is part two, and what you're going to see is that his whole analysis of evil is built on the exact same foundation as his ideas about beauty. It's all connected. So in this book, The Roots of Moral Evil, he looks at the two classic sources of evil. Pride, our tendency to make everything about ourselves, and something called concupiscence. That's basically just a fancy word for our disordered desire for pleasure, for stuff. But of course, he goes way deeper than just those simple definitions. He brings up this incredible concept he calls spiritual laziness. Now, this has nothing to do with not wanting to do the dishes. It's a deep unwillingness to make the spiritual effort a situation demands. And the example he gives is it's so powerful. Imagine someone you love dies. The proper response is to go through the deep, painful work of grief. But spiritual laziness is when you just distract yourself. You stay on the surface because going deep is just too much work. Then there's this other key idea, immanent logic. This is what happens when we get so caught up in the internal rules of a task, the how, that we completely forget to ask why. The example in the source is just perfect. Think of a general who gets totally obsessed with strategy, with tactics, the perfect way to win a war, but he never once stops to ask, hey, is this war even just? He's completely trapped inside the logic of the game, and he's lost sight of the bigger moral picture. Okay, so here we are in part three. We've talked about objective beauty. We've talked about the roots of evil. So, how in the world do they connect? Well, this is the moment where everything in von Hildebrand's thinking just clicks together. And here it is. This is the absolute core of the whole thing. A failure to see and respond to real objective beauty, he calls that spiritual deadness. And a failure to see and respond to objective moral good, that's spiritual laziness. See? They're basically two sides of the very same coin. It's all about a refusal to engage with what's actually real. At the end of the day, both are a failure of that value response we talked about earlier. In both situations, whether it's aesthetics or morals, we're just refusing to make the effort to see a truth that exists outside of our own heads. What this means is that your ability to be truly moved by beauty is fundamentally tied to your ability to choose what is good. And this spiritual deadness, he says, leads to a world that doesn't just ignore beauty, it actively champions its opposites. Things that are prosaic and dull, trivial and empty, mediocre and boring. He really zeroes in on the mediocre, that lukewarm, it's fine attitude that just avoids anything great because greatness requires effort. And that is the exact opposite of the energy you need to appreciate great art or to act with real virtue. So here's the big, profound takeaway from all this. For von Hildebrand, what you might call the modern war on beauty isn't just some high-minded debate about art. It's much more serious. A culture that loses its ability to see objective beauty is also at the same time weakening its ability to see objective good. You simply can't separate the two. And that leaves us with a pretty challenging question to end on, doesn't it? If von Hildebrand is right about all this, if beauty and goodness aren't just feelings or opinions, but are actual, real forces in the universe, then what is our responsibility? What's our job when it comes to seeing them, defending them, and, most importantly, responding to them in our own lives?